Uhuru. Touch one. Touch one. One Africa. One Africa. Uhuru. Welcome to the Black Power Community Sunday Rally here in St. Louis. We're located at 4101 West Florissant on the corner in West Florissant and Alice. So if you're listening online and you're in the St. Louis area, you still have time to stop by. We will be here from 3 to 5 p.m. and we want to thank everybody that's online, YouTube and Facebook for viewing with us. Today, our theme is white people and the Uhuru movement. So today we're going to look at what does it mean for white people to be on the right side of the question within the Uhuru movement under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. So we're going to have a dynamic event and it's going to be very, very educational. All right. We want to also say that this program today is brought to you by the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. That's InPDUM. And InPDUM was founded in 1991 in Chicago, Illinois. And we come to you with bread, peace, and Black power in our lifetime. So Uhuru, we want to also give a special recognition to Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is with us today. And he is the leader of the Uhuru movement and founder of the Solidarity Movement, as we call it. There are two fronts of that, the African People's Solidarity Committee and then the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And we will have also speakers from each one. Chairwoman Penny Hess, who represents and is the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, will present the information a little bit later, as well as Comrade Jesse Neville, who is chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Before we go further into the program, we're going to ask you to stand, please, and sing along with the African Nation Fight Song. Sing along with us. The African Nation Fight Song is right here on the screen. We'll play that and begin immediately. Uhuru.
Patrice Lumumba's life won't be in vain. We are winning. Keep up the work in Marcus Garvey's name. We are winning. And free is what we will be. We are winning. Africa will bask in our victory. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom of organization. Socialist world, our creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning.
Touch one. Touch one. One Africa. One nation. That's what it's all about. Uhuru. All right, comrades, we're going to go ahead and move further along with the program. The next thing on our agenda is to have some political education, whereas we take from the 14 points of the African People's Socialist Party, the 14-point platform. This week, we're going over point 6. It is on the screen. It will be on the screen momentarily. You can read along with that. After we read the platform point, we will go over the main ideas. And after the main ideas, with a show of hands, we'll have a little quiz to see how much we've retained. Okay, Uhuru? All right, that's how we roll. All right. No, point 6. We want the immediate and unconditional release of all Black people who are presently locked down in U.S. prisons. We believe that all the African men and women who are locked down in the U.S. concentration camps, commonly known as prisons, are there due to decisions, laws, and circumstances which were created by aliens and foreigners for their own benefit and as a means of genocidal colonist control. We believe that these decisions, laws, and circumstances were created and are enforced without our consent and are therefore illegitimate. We believe that the African men and women who are locked down in these concentration camps are victims of U.S. colonist ruling class justice, which maintains our enslavement and terrorizes our people, and that they should therefore be released immediately to the just representatives of our struggle for liberation, independence, and socialist democracy. That was the 6th point of the 14-point platform, the African People's Socialist Party. So the main ideas of point 6. Number 1, we want the immediate release of all African people in U.S. prisons. Number 2, African people are imprisoned because of genocidal colonialism with its laws which benefit the colonizer. Number 3, U.S. prisons are colonial prisons which maintain our enslavement and terrorize our people. Number 4, we demand that all African prisoners be released to just representatives of our struggle for African liberation. Uhuru? So those were the main points of point 6, the main ideas of point 6. So then we're going to have some questions and answers. And if those raise your hand, how it goes, you raise your hand if you know the answer, and you can come up and win this nice constellation gift from courtesy of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Okay, question number 1. U.S. prisoners are packed in U.S. prisons that are packed with African people were created due to decisions and laws of aliens and foreigners. B, are a means of genocidal control. C, are concentration camps. Or is it D, all of the above? All of the above. And someone with the right response, raise your hand. I'll give you this nice InPDUM pen. You can show it and broadcast it everywhere you go. For the international. Who said that? Oh, you got one? It is all of the above. All right. All right, uh-huh. Thank you. Paying attention, one thing. All right, number 2. Okay, all African men and women in prisons, A, should be released immediately to the representatives of our movement for liberation. B, should be given parole. C, should get more visitors. Yeah, well, that might help. D, should get better food, and they definitely need better food. But what's the answer? Okay, come on up. Wait a minute before you come up. What's the answer?
A.
A? Okay, then I'll take that. That's right. A is the answer. Come here, Sophie. Thank you. Rocking and InPDUM everywhere you go. Okay, that takes us to all our questions for today with the political education. And hopefully everybody did get something out of that. And if you hadn't, you can get the Burning Spear newspapers on the back of the table. And all the points, they're always in every edition of the Burning Spear newspaper, page 1110. But anyway, it's always in the Burning Spear newspaper on page 12 and 11. So please do get that. Please get your copy of the Burning Spear a little bit later and go over those 14 points. Okay, Uhuru. So next up, we have a little culture for you. Our resident poet and cultural extraordinary, 4 feet, Akibalon.
Uhuru. Uhuru, everybody. I am 4 feet, Ushairi El Kibulon, and I am 4 feet not because I'm 4 feet tall. I hear poetry with 2 feet on earth and 2 feet in spirit. And when it comes to the mic, it is 4 feet deep. Okay. This poem is called Shades. I take off my shades to see clearly. Watch the world as it speaks. Nothing to separate me from the truth. I see the cloud skies were shining once, where sunshine once lived. The once clear water now cloudy, like the sky spits cloud into the sea. I see smoke and fire where a town once stood. I see a field of bodies not moving, where a concert once happened. I see babies crying with empty bellies, mothers weeping over dead bodies, fathers holding lifeless loved ones, angry people fighting to hold on hope for tomorrow, with each one closer to just feeling life for today. Rivers full of floating dead fish, empty trees with no birds singing, a world with 4 awake from a dead sleep, days of rain beginning with no ending. Winds once share gentle breezes, now howl in displeasure. Loud drums beat from deep in the earth belly, but I take off my shades as the place live as a place life has turned upside down and inside out. With all the people around me wearing shades just to ignore the truth, the world will no longer allow them to do so. Some call the things happening in this world turmoil. Some of them call it revelation. I know it's revolution. Because the Uhuru 3 are free. Be still. Turn the music off. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. That's it. Uhuru Sasa.
Just give it up for that. And before we go to the next clip, if you didn't hear what she was really saying a whole lot of stuff, but it was rather deep because it was profound. Because when you talk about land being taken away from African people, you can clearly see that without the sunglasses on. You can see it in the city of St. Louis. You can see it with the Delmore Divide. You can see it what happened in Kinloch. So Uhuru, folks, be right on for that.
Incredible victory today. I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Yeshitela, and the African Revolution. That this is a victory for the reality that the party and the chairman created the white solidarity movement in part to break the isolation that the U.S. government has imposed upon the African liberation movement. That APSC was created to be a front. We are not allies. We are not support in that way. We are part of the strategy of the African People's Socialist Party to go into the white community and to win reparations because
Uhuru. So as you know, the theme once again, give it up. As you know, once again, the theme today is white people and the Uhuru movement. That was a 53-second clip from Comrade Penny Hess, who was down in Tampa, Florida, when the Uhuru 3 were freed earlier late last year in December, just giving a little support to that. And she gave just a little bit about the necessity and the importance of the solidarity, of the solidarity movement inside of the Uhuru movement. So right now we're going to bring Comrade Penny Hess up, and we also have Comrade Jesse Neville in the house. And so it's going to be on their discretion how they deal with that. But Comrade Penny Hess is going to come up and give us a presentation on the solidarity movement, Uhuru.
Glasses. Uhuru, it's really an honor to be here today. And of course, I want to start by saluting my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who has
fought for the liberation of Africa and African people and for a world without the oppressors and the oppressed. And I want to salute Deputy Chair Onizane Shatella and the African People's Socialist Party. And I want to salute my comrades from the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I am very happy to have the honor and the ability to talk about, well, who are these white people that are part of the Uhuru movement? How was this organization formed? Why was it formed? And what is the work that we do? So I have a PowerPoint here. I hope I'm doing this right. Let me see. Hold on a second. Yes, but let me look at my part here. So, Uhuru. So Reparations Now, the African People's Solidarity Committee. Reparations, as we have come to understand under the leadership of Chairman Omali Shatella, is the key essential question of our times. And it brings to our understanding why the world got to be the way that it is, and why the majority of the resources on the planet Earth are in the hands of white people, the colonizers, while the actual resources in terms of minerals and resources on this planet are in the colonized people's lands, and what it was that brought this about. So the main work of the African People's Solidarity Committee is to go out into the white community and win other white people to the stand that we have a responsibility to fight for reparations to African people in theory and in practice. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to salute my leadership, Deputy Chair Onizane Shatella, who leads much of the work that the African People's Solidarity Committee and USM are involved in, and who has really built dual and contending power in the hands of the African working class. And I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Shatella and the African People's Socialist Party. And the African People's Solidarity, sorry, next slide, I guess I need to say that. And the African People's Solidarity Committee was formed in 1976, almost 50 years ago, by the African People's Socialist Party, answering the question, what about the white people? And that is me over there, by the way, at the very first founding convention. Next slide. Today, APSC, the African People's Solidarity Committee, and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement are growing throughout the United States, located in more than 130 cities inside the US. And you know, we're really fighting to be the main organization that any white person would join, looking to take a stand in solidarity with the right of African and colonized people to be free and self-governing. Next slide. The Chairman Omali Shatella taught us, and probably from the very first founding convention of APSC, that the main contradiction facing African people and facing the world is not racism, it is colonialism. And this is what we take to other white people, because racism is just the ideas in the heads of white people. Colonialism is the state power that is backed up by the courts, the armies, the whole infrastructure of this whole social system that we live in, and that maintains the oppression of African people, indigenous people, and oppressed and colonized peoples around the world. It is more than racism. Racism is the ideas of white people living in a system of colonialism as part of the colonizer nation. Next slide. So as Chairman Omali Shatella has taught us, and as we say, all white people sit on the pedestal on the backs of African people. We are the colonizers and we are facing the colonized. We are the children, as the chairman has said, of the slave masters facing the children of the enslaved. And that, you know, there are a lot of, or some people or the white left that wants to say that, you know, there's white working class people, there's various classes within the white society. But the fact is that even white working people, even white people have a job based on this whole system built on the assault on African people and the theft of this land, which has created the resources, the ability, the wealth, the generational wealth, as they say, the ability to pass wealth down from generation to generation that all white people face. And I have read, and I have to remember the statistic, but it is some enormous amount, like something like $30 trillion or maybe more than that, that is sitting in white people's wills, ready to be passed down to the next generation. This is what we're saying when we're talking about an entire population that rests on and lives at the expense of African and indigenous people. Next slide. So we talk to other people, other white people, with this understanding of African internationalism. African internationalism is the political theory, the political understanding that Chairman Omali Yeshitela has created, that the chairman has written about, all of his books, his whole analysis of the world, and that basically allows white people to begin to see the world through the eyes of the African working class, instead of through the white colonizers that dominate the media, the educational system, and everything else. Next slide. And that we recognize that this land has been stolen from the indigenous people. And we just saw in the last week or so the victory of indigenous people with the release of Leonard Peltier from prison, who was an indigenous freedom fighter who was locked up for 50 years, just about the time that I was coming into the African People's Solidarity Committee, because he was defending the right of indigenous people from incursions, armed incursions by the US government at Pine Ridge Reservation in the 1970s, very courageously. The US government was finally forced to release him. And that is indicative of the struggle of the indigenous people for that land, for their land. This struggle is not over. And next slide. That we tell other white people that capitalism, what is called capitalism, which the chairman calls the colonial mode of production, is parasitic. There is nothing in it that is pure, that exists because white people brought it here, you know, created it on our own. Every single thing that white people have, that colonialism has, that colonizers have, that capitalism itself is built on the DNA of colonialism, of plunder, of rape, of pillage, of war, of oppression, of enslavement. And therefore it is parasitic. And this is what the chairman calls the colonial mode of production. We talked to the white community about the reality that stolen African labor inside the US and around the world produced the greatest economic wealth in human history for white people. Next slide. And as Chairman Omali Yeshitela has taught us, African people produce and reproduce real life for white people, not for themselves. And it is the motive of life for a people to produce and reproduce life for their own benefit. But this is not true for the African and colonized peoples here and around the world. Next slide. We say that the wealth of Wall Street was built on the enslavement of African people, and certainly in history. And I don't know if people know this, but under Wall Street, they found a few years ago a huge cemetery of the bodies of African people. So literally that were enslaved in New York City. People think, oh, there wasn't slavery in New York. Yes, there was enslavement in New York City. And that under Wall Street, and in fact, Wall Street, the dock of Wall Street, that's at the end of Wall Street, is where enslaved Africans were sold and brought off the ships. Right there, and under some of the largest buildings on Wall Street today is where the bodies of African people have been buried. Next slide. And after the Civil War, the enslavement of African people continued by another name, and it was called convict leasing. And convict leasing built massive wealth for the states, many states. I believe there was convict leasing in Missouri. I need to check that, but certainly throughout much of the South. And so it enabled the states that had lost the Civil War of the South to rebuild their wealth within maybe a few years. They were wealthier than they ever had been before. Next slide. We talk about how that the farmland and certainly what was called the Order 51, that was the 40 acres. There wasn't a mule, but there was 40 acres that was supposed to be given to African people, and that was announced by the US government. And the US took that back, and African people that very day when it was announced after the Civil War, African people began to be moving to these states and to these areas that were supposedly granted as reparations, as restitution to enslaved African people. The US government took that back immediately and pushed African people out of that, and that was taken away again. Next slide. We talk about how African people had wealth in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and not just one place, but there was a section of town called the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, where just very, very wealthy, where African people had created their own economy, had been able to just build a thriving ability to to create their own businesses and their own wealth, and took care of all of the people. It was called Greenwood in Oklahoma. And in 1921, a mass mob of white people burned down the Black Wall Street and burnt it. But that happened in many other places as well, including Rosewood in Florida, and in almost every single state in the US where African people had gone to create their own life and their own economy. Next slide. We talk about the terror and the torture that was called lynchings, and how African people, how white people for over a century, any white person, including white women and children, could take on leading and inciting a white mob to murder African people, to torture them and murder them. I would just say that in the Uhuru Solidarity Center, we are at 2654 Gravois on the south side. We're between, the two streets that we're between are Lynch and Texas. And in St. Louis, so I looked up that, like, well, who is this Lynch? But in St. Louis, actually, there was something called the Lynch, this guy, Bernard Lynch, owned slave pens here in St. Louis, and they were near where Busch Stadium is now, where hundreds and hundreds of African people were kept in cages underground, and as they were building them. So yeah, so here the city names a street after after this lynch, here in St. Louis. Next slide. And we also talked to white people and explain the reality that there is what's called mass incarceration of the colonial prison system, that 1 out of 8 people in prison in the entire world is an African person, an African man in the United States. And that the US has the largest prison population of any other country, including countries, China and other countries that are massively more huge. And 70% of those in prison are African, Indigenous, and Mexican people. Next slide. We talked to people about the police violence and terror and the way that the police are used to gun down African people in a way that virtually never happens in the white community. And the relationship to the state and the police is totally different for the colonizer versus the colonized. Next slide. In 1982, the African People's Socialist Party and the Chairman Omali Yeshitela, used international law and human rights and the genocide law convention of the United Nations as the basis for a world tribunal on reparations to African people. And you can read about that in the book, I believe is somewhere in here, called The Verdict Is In. Amazing testimony for 2 days of African people from every walk of life, every expert, and from the people testifying about the conditions that they face. The chairman came to the conclusion, based on scientific reality or investigation, that the US government owes African people, this was in 1982, $4.1 trillion for stolen labor in the United States alone. And that doesn't account the fact that African people were enslaved all throughout the Caribbean, all throughout South America, and all throughout the Americas. So $4.1 trillion is, I don't even know how much that is today, but that was in 1982 dollars. So the African People's Socialist Party and the chairman had a goal to make the term reparations a household word. Back in 1982, a lot of people didn't know what reparations even meant. And the chairman is the one that has made this, where everywhere you look, in every city, there are groups of people demanding that the city pay reparations to African people. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela, we really have to understand that, was the one that made that happen. He had a goal. He said, I will make reparations a household word. He said that in 1980 or 82. And indeed it is today, because I get Google search for the word reparations, and I get scores of them almost every day. There's something to do where someplace in this country or someplace in the world now, for the first time, the countries of Africa are demanding reparations from the European colonizers. That never happened before, and that's only come up in the last month or so. Next slide, please. The party created the African People's Solidarity Committee as a strategic front of the African liberation movement behind enemy lines to win solidarity and reparations. So that has been our goal and our work. In 1985, APSC united to raise the demands for reparations to African people and the white community in theory and practice. APSC, under the leadership of the party, it took several years to really get and win the kind of unity. The chairman worked really hard to win us, to unite us to the political understandings of African internationalism. And once that was won, we could see, that our mantra was reparations. We owed reparations, and white people did. And this is some of the early, marches and events that we held. And the party assigned APSC to build reparations and material solidarity. And one of the things that we did was create an institution that is an institution of the party. It is now called Uhuru Foods and Pies, but we began holding street fairs in San Francisco, where there's a lot of street fairs out there, and we would put all of our signs up, and we just had people waiting in line to support, you know, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the stand that it was taking, that these resources were going towards the Uhuru movement and the African People's Socialist Party. Also, one of the things that we did was write a book, Overturning the Culture of Violence. And this is something that just lays out from many other books, puts it together. What were the crimes that white people committed against African people and indigenous people? And this lists many, many examples of that. So the party created the Black Power blueprint in this period for political and economic power to the African working class. And we have just seen the incredible victories of that in the last period, the fight led by the Office of the Deputy Chair to be able to open the bakery. And again, you know, the leadership of the party, the Office of Deputy Chair, Chairman Omali Shatella, they are kicking the ass of the ruling class and fighting for the right of African people to be free and liberated and to have their own institutions and political power in the hands of the African working class. So Uhuru Solidarity Movement is raising reparations from white people as material solidarity with the Black Power blueprint. Next slide. Reparations is not charity, it is a revolutionary demand. It is what is owed. Next slide. And I just wanted to, you know, one of the things that we want to do more, because there's so much history of African resistance here in St. Louis, as many people probably know. This is a picture of Dred and Harriet Scott. This is a picture of the Mike Brown rebellions right next to it. And to just know that over and over again, if we look at the history of the city, there have been so many times when African people have struggled for control over their own communities. And just like Mill Creek Valley, where African workers own their own houses, 20,000 people live there. They had their own businesses, hospitals, and the city just tore it down blatantly because the goal was to have more white business be successful. And yeah, so this is every year we have the March for Reparations and the Day of Reparations here. It is going to be in September. Jesse can tell you it'll be in September, I think 17th. And we have a march usually over in Tower Grove Park, and then we have a conference the next day. So this is the Uhuru Solidarity Center. We are at 2654 Gravois. We have many events and open our center, every day, and everybody is welcome to visit us there. We have many events, and we're going to have many events coming up. We have the Uhuru Solidarity Movement's National Convention, the Reparations Legacy Conference. We have many things coming up, and Comrade Jesse is going to talk to us about that. Uhuru. We are winning. Okay.
For Chairman Uhuru. I just really want to salute that great presentation from Chairwoman Penny Hess. I sent a slide as well. Do we have? Okay. So yes, I just really want to express my unity with everything that was laid out in that presentation. And I'm very honored to be here at the Sunday rally of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement as a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, a proud member of APSC, and also having the honor of chairing our mass organization, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the convention that's coming up on March 15th and 16th in just 2 weeks, and it will be held right here in Aquaba Hall in the Uhuru House here in St. Louis, which we're really excited and honored to be able to have our national convention here once again this year. And this is an annual convention, but the chairman was recently saying that there's a lot of things that we might do on a regular basis every year, but it is different this year. It is different. There are things about this period that are different. So while we hold a convention every year, this will be the first convention that we will have held just a few months after the Uhuru movement and Chairman Omali Yeshitela kicked the ass of the ruling class by defeating this bogus attack on the Uhuru movement with the Uhuru 3. Just a couple of months after, Deputy Chair led this incredible fight back for the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe right here in St. Louis. And in this era of intensifying crisis of the colonial system with the return of Donald Trump, and many white people who are looking at this situation saying, oh no, this is terrible, fascism is coming into the United States, etc. But what this convention is saying is putting out the message to white people, as the chairman has taught us, that the struggle is against colonialism, and that what we might refer to as fascism is simply that moment at which we as white people begin to fear that we might experience a tiny measure of what is considered normal for African, colonized, indigenous, and other colonized peoples under colonialism every single day. So the way to fight back against what they call fascism, against what people associate with Trump, is to join the African Revolution, to organize under the leadership of the African working class, which has always been at the forefront of the struggle for all progressive social change throughout the whole world. So that's what this convention, that's the spirit of the convention this year. And its title is White Solidarity with Black Power. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the program of the convention. So first of all, people are coming from all throughout this country to participate in the national convention. We have members and supporters of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement traveling here from Seattle, from St. Petersburg, Florida, from Tampa, Florida, from Portland, Oregon, from Oakland, California, San Diego, California, San Francisco, California, from Tacoma, Washington, from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, from Minneapolis, from Chicago, and of course, right here in St. Louis, many people will be coming. And first of all, on Friday, I don't have a slide for this, unfortunately, but on Friday night, March 14th, there will be a meet and greet at the Uhuru Solidarity Center that Chairwoman Penny just talked about. So that's 2654 Gravois Ave, and that's at 6 o'clock. And everybody is invited to come to that meet and greet at the Solidarity Center. And then on Saturday and Sunday, the convention, the doors open at 8, and the program formally starts at 9. And what you will be able to experience at this convention, I just want to go through these slides real quick. So first of all, we're very honored to have as our keynote speaker, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, our leadership, the leader of the Uhuru movement and the leader of the Solidarity movement, which is a front of the African People's Socialist Party. So we're very excited to have Chairman Omali Yeshitela with us in person here for the National Convention, as well as Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, who will be one of our keynote speakers, talking about the work of the Black Power Blueprint right here in St. Louis. And there will actually be a tour, a walking tour of the programs and projects of the Black Power Blueprint right here on the north side. And we will also have our keynote speaker from the African People's Solidarity Committee, Chairwoman Penny Hess, who will be speaking at the USM convention. So we're very, very excited for that. And in addition to our keynote speakers, we also have some very special guests who will be speaking at the convention, including the president of the African National Women's Organization, Yejide Orenmila, will be one of our speakers. Ifia Nwangaza, who is a veteran of the Black Liberation Movement of the 60s, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and she will actually be here with us in person for the weekend and will be one of our guest speakers, as well as Nancy M., who is the executive director of Eyewitness Palestine and the founder of Existence is Resistance, the Palestinian, liberation struggle. And Nancy and Ifia and President Yejide and Chairwoman Penny and others, there's going to be a panel called "The Anti-Colonial Struggle is the Driving Force of History." So that's going to be really powerful. And if you go to the next slide, so these are just, and the main focus of the entire USM convention is to unite the whole organization around our main goal and project for 2025 and going forward beyond that, which is to build this campaign called the Reparations Legacy Project that was put forward by the chairman and deputy chair for the Uhuru Solidarity Movement to go to what we call the moneyed sector of the white population to target and recruit white people who have access to those $30 trillion in stolen wealth that Chairwoman Penny mentioned, to turn over those resources as a stand of reparations to the work of the Uhuru movement, the African liberation movement. And there's some new and very exciting components of that campaign that we're going to be announcing and launching at the USM convention in just a couple of weeks. And some of the other workshops that will be featured at the convention are, I mentioned, the anti-colonial struggle is the driving force of history. We're going to have an interactive training on how to talk about reparations to African people so that we can train our members and organizers to go back into all of the cities where we exist. We have members in over 130 cities in this country, and we want to build organization, build branches in every city. So we'll have a training on that, as well as a panel on the role of and the history of the question of white people in the struggle for reparations to African people. And we will also be discussing our program to recruit volunteers through the NTU volunteer program into all the different fronts of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement's work. And next slide. And I mentioned this is a really exciting part of the convention, is actually seeing the programs, going on a tour of the Black Power Blueprint. And I think that's the last slide. We can just check here. Okay, so March 15th and 16th, right here in the Uhuru House. Doors open at 8, program starts at 9. On the first night, Saturday, it goes there. The program sort of ends at 5 and then starts up again at around 6, where we have a reparations culture and awards night. And actually, Fofi will be performing at that. So we're really excited for that. Uhuru to Fofi. And that was an amazing poem, by the way, that you gave earlier. And we'll also, Uhuru. And we'll be giving out awards to, appreciate and recognize some of our members and volunteers in USM. So there is a registration at uhurusolidarity.org/register, and there's a sliding scale registration, but we are not turning anybody away for lack of funds. We want everybody and anybody to be able to join us on March 15th and 16th for the USM convention. And also, as Chairwoman Penny mentioned, this year we will be holding the Reparations Legacy Conference. So we'll be putting out a lot more information about that at the convention in a couple of weeks, and also building for the annual March for Reparations, which will be held on the weekend of September 13th and 14th this year, right here in St. Louis. So, Uhuru, thank you.
Uhuru. Touch one. Touch one. One Africa. One nation. That's what it's about. Uhuru. So we're going to move forward with our program, and now it's my honor to introduce the keynote for today's address. The Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who's been in this struggle since 1962, or probably earlier than that, wasn't it? Under 55, but for a very long time, and we got to recognize that and appreciate that work. And he's been very diligent and relentless for so many years, and leading so many struggles, and one of which we just spoken about, and that is the Solidarity Movement. So we're going to have you stand up and give it up for none other than Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
First of all, I want to express my appreciation to Comrade Kuumba and to the leadership of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement here in St. Louis, and to the regular participants and members of the Uhuru Movement and participants in this Sunday meeting, which is extremely important, and it's getting more important every day. Because our objective has to be to build an actual capacity of African people to change our conditions in the world. It's an interesting situation, and people went through the African Nation Fight song and heard the presentations that we've just made right now. And it's clear that when you listen to the African Nation Fight song and you listen to some of the presentations that were made, it's different from what you would get from most of the meetings that you will attend in this city, in this country, in much of the world, although that is changing now. And part of the reason it's changing is because of the work that we are doing. You just had the experience of many people crying crocodile tears for this man, Zelensky, who came to this country to get more blood money, to get more resources from the United States in order to pursue this US-initiated war against Russia. And it was a war, there's some controversy around it, it seems, because some people are ignorant of the fact that this is a war that was initiated by the United States with the Ukrainian movement, government, especially since Zelensky has been there, responsible for initiating an ongoing attack on Russia that had led to something from 8,000 to 13,000 people had been killed, Russians had been killed before this thing even kicked off. And the United States is supplying more and more and more weapons, more sophisticated weapons to carry out this mission of killing Russians, because they wanted Ukraine, because Ukraine at one time was effectively a part of Russia. Many of the people in Ukraine are Russians, Russian-speaking Russian. They have a history there. Most people don't know anything about it because people in this country, generally speaking, only get what is characterized as lessons in geography after the United States has initiated a war someplace against some people somewhere, and then they began to feed people this pablum that they characterize as history. And it's a falsification of reality that people gets pumped into your TV and your social media accounts and things like this. But the United States has been making war against Russia for more than 100 years. And it began, the United States was a part of the whole group of colonial powers that invaded Russia in 1918. And they invaded Russia in 1918 because of the Russian Revolution that happened in 1917. And the Russian Revolution happened in 1917 because the Russians refused to participate with the rest of Europe in this contest to redivide the world that they characterized as World War I. And it happened at a time where Marcus Garvey, there were 11 million Black people with Marcus Garvey. If you remember, you're talking about a period that saw the attack that was made on Palestine, 1917, the Balfour Declaration, where white people in England gave Palestine, and the Palestinians who are being killed today, they gave Palestine to white people, to Jews who lived in Europe for their own purposes. It's a time where in 1919, France and England got together and with an agreement that was carved up with what they call the Middle East into these places like Lebanon and Syria, the borders that you see now, Palestine. The French and England and the British did this. And they created this mess that people are confronted with today, and they've dominated the world for a very long time. I'm saying this because when you see Zelensky crawling into to the United States and people crying these crocodile tears because Trump treated him so badly, we're told, and because Trump had demanded, because everything is a deal with Trump, he had demanded more than 50% of the essential minerals from Ukraine. And he said, you're going to pay us back for all these weapons and everything that we put into Ukraine to kill Russians with. In fact, Zelensky is in power now because the United States overthrew the government that had been elected in Ukraine in 2014. They overthrew that government and replaced it with the government that Zelensky became a part of. And the government they overthrew was a government that was loaded with most of the political direction was coming from the people that the United States like to refer to as Nazis and things like that. That's the reality of the situation. So Zelensky was coming here to the United States to get peace, because they've been making this war, and it's a war that they cannot win. It's a war that they can't even get the bodies. Many people are deserting, running from Ukraine, because they don't want to participate in that war. Thousands of people have been killed in that war. It's an unjust war that doesn't benefit the people, and much of Ukraine, the people are Russian-speaking people. So it's an untenable situation without the guns that's coming from the United States and coming from much of Europe. That war wouldn't have lasted a minute. In fact, I think what Zelensky said, correcting the US Vice President Vance, when he said you wouldn't last 3 weeks or 3 months without us, and Zelensky said we wouldn't last 3 days. And that's an objective truth, because it's a US war that's been made against Russia. They collapsed the Russian government and to get as much territory as they can to make it impossible for Russia to be a viable political institution. And so Zelensky came in, and he had already been briefed by the U.S. diplomatic corps about what was supposed to happen. He knew he was supposed to sign the deal. That's what it's about. He knew there was not supposed to be a discussion around diplomatic stuff. He said he was told this is something that would happen later. But when the question came up, and the question of diplomacy was important, because Zelensky didn't want to make any concessions. So he wanted to say no diplomacy, or diplomacy cannot be something that is a substitute for war. He wanted this war. So, and I'm saying this is just a matter of talking about absolute what the truth is. I'm not talking about some position that somebody should take based on you support Russia, or you support Trump, something to that effect. This is just objectively what the deal is, and we have to make decisions based on what the objective situation is, as opposed to the emotional garbage that gets pumped into us. And the reason this garbage can work is because our oppressors have destroyed any understanding what we as a people have to be about in terms of our own liberation. So I just wanted to say that this is part of what was going on. Trump had said that that we were going to get peace. He had said that the peace deal was going to be made between him and Russians, and that Ukraine and Zelensky wouldn't have anything to do with it, and the so-called European Union, the European countries wouldn't have anything to do with it either. They were going to make the deal, and Zelensky was going to sign off on these resources, etc. And that upset Russia, that upset Europe. Europe was upset about that because it's been cut out of the deal. It wants a piece of the action too. It's been getting a piece of the action traditionally of every colonial enterprise. Every war that's happened since the Second World War, they've had this arrangement where they share the booty among themselves. It was always understood it would be under US leadership, but they got a piece of the action too. Now, you don't get nothing. This is what Trump has said. That's why the day before, if I'm not mistaken, Zelensky arrived, there was a prime minister of the United Kingdom, of England, who stood up in a live situation, just like what the one, similar to what happened with Zelensky. And the guy was saying that England, they were ready to put boots on the ground. This was their way of saying, we want the war to continue. We want a war, we want to fight Russia. We want to crush Russia if we can. And they didn't want to be left out of the deal that they said that Trump was going to be making with Zelensky, not with Zelensky, but with Russia. So they were not going to be getting any of the action. And I think that for various reasons, Zelensky had the assumption that he could get away with doing what he wanted to do with the United States because he would get backing from Europe. You know that right after that, France came out and talked about calling this conference in Europe. And we're behind Zelensky. That's what they're saying. We're behind Zelensky and we want to fight the Russians. We're with you all the way. Sure you are. And Ukraine will continue to be a pawn in this process. The Ukrainian people will continue to die as a part of the interests of this colonial imperial powers, usually up to now headed by the United States. It's still going to be headed by the United States because I think we've seen Zelensky kind of temper down the stuff that he was talking about before. But anyway, that's the basis of what it is that we're looking at. Ain't no good guys in this process. Ain't no good old Zelensky. Anybody who's kept up with this stuff, you saw what happened when the Africans tried to get out of Ukraine when this war started, and how the Ukrainians were attacking Africans and made sure they couldn't get out. It was a white people's only thing. You know how the United States in this country, the whole question of immigrants and immigration has been such a real powerful thing. And the Democratic Party has been pro-immigration, we are told. It was pro-immigration, and the Republicans were saying that you're for immigration because what you're trying to do is get more of these people who are coming across the southern border to become Democrats. They would join the Democrats because the Democrats facilitated, and it was true. But what you're going to see, I guarantee you, increasingly, that the great likelihood is that the Republican Party is going to become pro-immigrant in the United States, and the Democratic Party is going to become anti-immigrant. Why? Because many of the immigrants who are likely to start coming into this country now are going to be from Ukraine. They're going to be from white countries and things like that, and they're going to be from places who will join the Republican Party. They're going to even be under the leadership of reactionaries from South America. People who ran from the Cuban Revolution, people who ran from the revolution in Venezuela. They would be that's who voted. Many of them voted for Trump this last time out. So that's what we're looking at. I just wanted to say that, and I'm hoping that people, if you have questions or even arguments, that's fine with me. We can discuss this thing because they were talking about how he humiliated Zelensky. How many Black people were humiliated by Zelensky and the Ukrainians when they tried to get the hell out of Ukraine? How many Black people were humiliated? And the fact is that what Trump did with Zelensky is nothing different from what the United States does historically when it's negotiating with people. They just do it behind closed doors. Lyndon Baines Johnson has a history. There's a story where he even put one person in a chokehold to get the agreement that he wanted to have. He was a liberal Democrat. So this is typical. And you just got an opportunity to peek behind the curtains. And many people around the world were able to peek behind the curtains. This is how the U.S. does it. If they want it, they will come to get it. And if you got it, you give it up, or you can expect to be attacked. That's the history. That's the history. And the fact is that all these people, I saw this woman who is now supposedly a rising star in the Democratic Party, a young woman, smart woman, dynamic, charismatic woman, who's bemoaning the fact that Trump has disgraced and undermined our institutions the way he treated Zelensky. I saw somebody who is supposed to be a part of the progressive Black liberation movement, the Black left and what have you, in a rally, I think it was in Washington, D.C., where he's talking about how our nation, remember what Malcolm X said? What did Malcolm say about our nation? He's talking about these Negroes, they won't even let you in the plant. And you're talking about our plant, our astronauts, our this and that. It ain't ours. And you can always tell when somebody is in the pocket of U.S. imperialism. And Malcolm said every time the white man say we, he says we. Our house is on fire. This is a plantation on fire. Our house is on fire. They work harder to put out the fire than the slave master himself put out the fire. What you want from me, boss? That's the kind of thing that you see coming down now. These people who are part of the Democratic Party apparatus, and anyway, I'm not going to belabor that. We should be able to have longer discussions around this and I'm glad to have this discussion in the African community, in North St. Louis, among African working people, because this is not a discussion we are supposed to be having. This is a discussion the big shots have. This is a discussion they have on university campuses and things like that. This is a discussion that happens behind closed doors with intellectuals and people who are part of ruling circles in this country. So I'm glad everybody's here, and I'm gonna go ahead and move now. So, but I had to say those things because that's what's on your mind. It has to be on your mind because every time you look at something, now you see a new complaint about how badly Trump is treating somebody in Ukraine or from Ukraine. Nobody's talking about how bad Biden treated us. Nobody's talking about the last Black person that was gunned down by the cops in this city. Nobody talks about the fact that that the U.S. has the largest prison population in the world, and if they release the Africans, if they release the Mexicans, if they release all these people who are colonized here, they will reduce the prison population by 2/3. Nobody says that. So here, this is the U.S. doing this. Russia's not doing this. Trump didn't do this. It's happened with every administration that's been there. Trump didn't murder Lumumba. Eisenhower and Kennedy participated in that collectively. So that's just the objective reality we're looking at. We're looking at a colonial mode of production. The whole white world, the whole world itself lives as a consequence of the attack that was made on Africa 600 years ago. At a time when you knew you were Africans, at a time when there was no confusion about who the hell you are, at a time you understood that it's impossible to get on a boat in Africa in 1619 as an African and get off that same boat in Jamestown, Virginia as a Negro. If you got on the boat as an African in Africa, when we got off the boat in this land, we were still African people. What the hell happened? And you have to remember that. You have to be aware of that. And the war that's made on us often is because we move to try to help people understand this reality. And when we move to help people understand this reality, what do they say? They say the Russians are the reason you're saying that. They're saying that things are hunky-dory for Black people in this country, and the only ones complaining are the Russians. And if you say it, it's because you work for Russia. This is what they say. They come to your house in St. Louis, Missouri on Redbud. You know where Redbud is, 44 Redbud, 44 Bud. This is where they come, and they come with armored vehicles, and they come with automatic weapons and things like that, pre-dawn raids. This is the same government that's moving warships in the Mediterranean to crush the struggle of the Palestinian people on Redbud. Because they can't handle the truth. And one of the reasons they can't handle the truth is because the world is changing under their feet. It is because oppressed people everywhere are fighting back. It's because the Palestinians have refused to live under the conditions that's been imposed on them by those white people who came to Palestine as settlers, just like white people came to this land as settlers. This is the biggest settler colony in the world right now in the United States. Australia, settler colony. And you have a situation where white people leave Europe. Europeans leave Europe and go and take somebody else's land. And the first thing a thief does when he takes the land is scratch the name off. They scratch the name off, and then what they would do is put their own name on it and act like they've always been here. Used to be Palestine, now it's Israel. Used to be Turtle Island, now it's America. It used to be Lumumba, and now you Jones. Scratch the name off. Confuse everybody. And then they control the educational process that you go to their school. You can't have Sumner High School. They ticket and teach you, make sure that you understand exactly what you want to understand. Even though the white man ultimately ran Sumner, you had professors at Sumner, just like I did when I was growing up, who would tell you to stand at the door and watch and see who's coming, and they'd tell you the truth. You could do that in Black institutions, but they make sure you don't have those institutions. One, two, even if they didn't tell you the whole truth, the fact is they want to make sure that you're not competent enough to run your own government, your own business, so you can't get any kind of education. When the U.S. worked with the Belgians, Congo, this is something interesting too. I just saw that the same deal that just went down, that Trump is forcing on the Ukrainians, the same deal is something that's going to happen with Congo. Democratic Republic of Congo. Ain't no upset about that. And if you tell the world, they won't be upset about it. It's normal for this to happen to Black people. Congo, colonized by Belgium. Congo, 80 times larger. Do you understand what I'm saying? 80 times larger than Belgium. Ain't that something? And it's one of the richest places on the planet Earth. You talking about what they want to get out of Ukraine? In terms of mineral resources, look at Congo. I've read some years ago that airplanes 30,000 feet in the air flying over parts of Congo and Angola, that the gauges on the airplane would go haywire because of the minerals in Africa, in that particular region of the world. Yeah. But they don't want you to fight for that. They want you to be about welfare slavery. People are starving in St. Louis. Yes, you are. And they've set up a real system of welfare stuff to keep you from fighting back. Every Thursday near the Redbud where I live, on Carter, they bring up food and put it on the ground out there by the church. And Black people roll up there to pick every Thursday to pick up the food and to pick up maybe a chair or so. You ride through St. Louis and they have a truck there saying that free hot dogs, etc. They would bomb us for doing economic development, to having a Black Power blueprint, to setting up a restaurant so we can feed, clothe, and house our own people. They will attack us right here and do that because they want to make sure that we are welfare slaves, that we're not capable and competent of taking care of our own business, our own selves. That's the struggle against colonialism. They want me to fight against Trump. I'm fighting against colonialism because it doesn't matter if Trump, Kennedy, Biden, or that woman, Kamala, is in that office. It's a colonial office no matter who occupies it. That's what it is. Doesn't matter. And that's what our struggle has to be about. I really wanted to talk to you about some more stuff, but but I'm going to bounce. Yeah, I'm going to bounce. I want to say just a couple more things, and I'm going to get out of here. You want to talk to you about the white people, because we always talk about the white people. You have to talk about the white people, don't you? You got to talk about the white people. Unless this assimilation, this integration kind of movement, you got to talk about the white people, because damn near everything you want to do is something that gets blocked by white people. Or they're lick spitters, they're Negroes, they're servants, etc. So you need to understand this relationship. And white people have committed horrible crimes against Africans and the peoples of the world. Horrible crimes. And so much so that people struggling to try to understand what is this entity. It's hard to even believe that human beings could treat other human beings like that. It's hard to believe it. So you say they're going to do this? No, they can't do that. They won't do that. Hell, they just did it. The white man wouldn't put drugs in your community. They put slavery in your community. Why the hell wouldn't they put drugs in your community? Why the hell wouldn't they put drugs in your community? Right? And this is the reality that we live with. And I'm talking about the whole white world. And I would make an exception about Russia here. And the reason I would make an exception about Russia, because all of the white world in Europe and this country right here came into existence as a consequence of colonial slavery. That's why you have an English last name, or a Spanish last name, or a French last name. But you don't see African people here running around with Russian last names. Because Russians never enslaved us. Russians never owned the Black people. And their general attitude is different. I tell you what I know, because I've been there. And I've seen the statues and the parks for Pushkin, from the most famous, most significant poet in Russia, named Pushkin. I've been there to the metro stations, the so-called subways, that's what we call them here. And I've listened to Paul Robeson singing over the loudspeaker in Russia, the International. So I know the difference. I know what I thought I was going to see when I got to Russia was completely different from the reality. It's hard to believe that they could hide something in plain daylight like that. A whole country you think you know something about because of what you've seen here, and then you get this, and what the hell is this? Anyway, so the white people thing is a really important thing for us to understand. And because we don't understand it, we see that some have said that white people are devils. And they say the white man is the devil. Yeah. And if you're religious, I mean, why the hell not? I mean, if there is a devil, it seems like it has a representative on earth. The white man seems to be a good candidate for that. And people have said that the white man is a mutation. It's not like the rest of human beings. It's a mutation. That's what and people have said this in very scientific ways. But what I want to tell you is this, that we are not going to be freed with holy water. And we are not going to be freed with a movement of geneticists. We're going to have to do like the Vietnamese did. We're going to have to do like the Cubans did. We're going to have to do and recognize, first of all, that there's no mystery about white people. I'm so opposed to this whole presumption of white people being mysterious entities. Who dropped them here? White people are people. Yeah. And as people, they can be defeated as people. The system that they create as people can be destroyed by people, fighting against people. But you can't fight the boogeyman. You can't defeat the boogeyman. But you know how this thing got organized. That means you know how you can get rid of it. So we want science. We understand that colonialism is the contradiction. Yeah. And the reason the white man acts the way the white man acts is because, unlike the rest of us, he's never had to work for a living. He came into modernity as a consequence of slavery, as a consequence of colonialism. Was no such thing as the white man before slavery. This is the truth. Was no such thing as Europe before slavery. Before slavery, there was a place that they used to call Christendom. There was this place where warring tribes were constantly at war with each other. But what united them was the war that they initiated 600 years ago against Africa. The whole colonial project, where they used to define each other in relationship to each other, now they define each other in relationship to us. And if you have a society, that society is comprised of an economic base, the way people feed, clothe, and house themselves. And it's comprised of an economic base and a superstructure, which is the ideas that flows from that base and reinforce that base. It's the legal system that puts on that base. It's the stuff that you get ideologically when you go to school and whatever, when you go to church. Those are ideas that have their origin in an economic base of slavery and colonialism. Anyway, I want to say those things. I know I've talked a long time, but we have to build a real movement. And Black people, we have to organize, mobilize, bring African people into active participation in changing the world that we live in. Because we don't like it. It's no good for us. And you can't live forever being scared. Oh God, please let a good white man get elected this year. You can't live like that. You can't live like that, hoping the good white man or some Negro that the white man has appointed is going to treat us right. We have to have a movement that's designed to take the future of our children in our own hands. That we know that our children will have a decent life, not because a good white man made it possible, but because that life is in our own hands. Yeah. So let's build the political economy right here. We're going to be moving toward having a whole Black People's Convention right here in St. Louis, a St. Louis Black Convention, where we will bring the whole African community together from throughout St. Louis and have a meeting, a convention, and put together our own agenda so that we can be united in the project of winning our freedom and defining what that freedom looks like. Thank you, Uhuru.
Whoa. Right on, out of the mouth of the youth. Look at that, out of the mouth of the babe. Talking about one Africa. Okay, that's all right. Yeah. So, thank you, Chairman. Hopefully everybody got a lot out of that, very informative. Just wanted to give a shout out right quick. We have views from throughout the country and in, you know, in the world. So we have people looking in, watching online from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, St. Louis, Toronto, Philadelphia, Buena Park, California, and so far Louisville, Kentucky. So Uhuru, appreciate you all, and you can also participate with us at this particular time online. So next up, we're going to call our comrade Fofi, and we will make a call for resources and membership.
Uhuru again. You know, this is the time and this is the place to get fired up. Yes. And if when you're sick and tired, this is the place to do something about being sick and tired. And with that, I'm going to say you can be sick and tired and join this fight by assisting us as we make our goal of $150. We take nickel, dimes, quarters, dollars, checks, money orders. We take plastic, and we can go online and hit us up with Cash App, or take your credit card and donate to InPDUM.org/donate. You people online, I'm talking to you too, because you know what? You're a part of this just like we are. InPDUM is a round the world organization. It is not just here in St. Louis or in St. Petersburg, Florida, or in San Diego, California, or in Chicago. It is around the world. These resources, you can see them. You can feel the heat. You can feel the warmth. You can feel the air when it's hot outside. You can come into a really, really, really nice building. And you know, it didn't puff up like that. And we want to keep it like that. We have papers that you can get for $1. For $1. You can get the flyers that we give out for information. We got the internet. What you think? All of it. Yeah, all of that costs resources.
White man won't give.
Oh yeah. And you know, we build our own because we don't want nobody telling us what to do or how to do it. And if you got your own, you can do your own. Okay? Follow the money. Chairman taught us, follow the money, and you know where the rules come from. Comrade Kumba, yeah. I want to tell these people about where the money goes in Africa.
Well, okay, we up here to tell you where the money goes in Africa. One of the projects that we have going on, well, one of the chapters, we said it's international. So the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement is located in occupied Tanzania, South Africa. It's also in Sierra Leone. But in occupied Tanzania, South Africa, there's a Project Tutukani. In Project Tutukani, you see the comrades, they have an Into You, which is a volunteer program, but they have weekly fundraising. And so for us in the United States, of course, our mandate is to support our comrades on the ground because we know how the resources are. Next slide, I want to show something and talk about these slides that we'll see. Here you can see the work on the ground. This slide to the right is so-called barren land. It would have been barren land, they said it. This is what we got left over from what colonialism did to us on the continent of Africa. And you see the slide that's on the left. This is the work of the African working class under the leadership of InPDUM and African Socialist International. That so-called barren soil is actually fertile. It speaks to the beautiful nature of the continent of Africa and what we are doing on the ground zero, where the revolution will be won. Next slide. So this is also that same type of picture. See, on one side, on the left side, you see that was so-called barren land, you understand? But it's producing things. This particular picture right here, that's a picture of a stalk of corn. Generally, when you see a stalk of corn, corn can do a couple of things. But generally, a stalk of corn, a stalk of corn will grow one ear of corn. I find 2 or 3 here, and this is not even full length. This has grown 3 ears of corn. That's the benefit of the African soil. That's the benefit of Africa. This is what they stole from us. This is what we got to get back. This is what our people are taking back. Next slide. Same concept here. Planting peppers. 20-day seed. This is what's being produced. These are also community gardens that young people and children are working for and building with their own hands on the continent of Africa. Azania, occupied Azania particularly. Is that into that slide? Okay, that's all.
Okay, so these resources, this $150, it goes into a pot that InPDUM sends to Africa for these reasons and for more, because we are working for Black people. Okay, Uhuru. Now, first of all, let me see who's not a part of InPDUM.
Yes, you are, Solomon.
If you would like to be on the ground here and be a part of InPDUM, so you can have a word or your emotions or your input on what happens in your community, you can become a member of the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. The basic level, down at the bottom, right now, is $10 until we change the slide. Because that went out in the end of 24. But since it's still there, that's what it is right now. $10 for a whole year. Yeah, Chairman said we're gonna take that down soon. The Musa Bantu level in the middle is 1 year membership for $10 annually for members of students and unemployed comrades. The George Jackson and Desi Wood level of InPDUM membership is $5 a year. And that's for the incarcerated members. If you know somebody, which mostly everybody knows somebody, that you want to make sure that they know what's happening out here in the world, get them a $5 membership. They will get a paper. They will know what's happening. So when they come out, they won't be wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and not know what's going on. Okay? We need to educate our people wherever they are, under a rock, in the sky, or behind bars. These are the 3 memberships, 3 of the memberships. Now, there's more membership levels, and whatever level you come on, you have the same privileges as any level in the whole organization, okay? Myself, I'm a lifetime member. How many lifetime members do we have? All right, InPDUM. With that being said, I will give this back to Kumba, and I'll come back and let you know if we reached our goal. And you people online, go online. Go online and donate the 2 ways I told you, and we will appreciate that, because you know what? You're hearing us. That's part of our resources. That's what it covers. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Well, thank everyone for making their contribution to the forward motion of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, those in person and online. Next, we're about to have some community discussion. And of course, those of you who are online, Toronto, Baton Rouge, wherever you might be, if you have questions, you can put those questions in the chat, and we should look to entertain those. And we also have those people in the room inside Quabbin Hall here at 4101 West Florissant here in St. Louis. We're on the corner of St. Louis, of West Florissant and Alice. And we have discussion. You can give a comment or you can have a question, raise your hand, need some clarification. Of course, we can extend the conversation. And and bring some more clarity to whatever issues that we need to bring clarity to. Nobody online just as of yet, but we will be coming up. Anybody in the audience? Chairman, you want to expound on some things?
I just want to say that people should not hesitate for any kinds of questions or
discussion.
comments or discussion you want to have. We recognize in these meetings that we are talking about some things that people are not necessarily accustomed to talk about and may not have discussed these issues in the same way we talk about them. But we think that this kind of discussion is really important for our own development and for our own clarification. Because the same thing that's on your mind, somebody else in the room is thinking about it too. So please don't hesitate to be involved in this discussion. Please.
Anybody ever thought about suing the government for the biohazard, like the crack that they put in the neighborhood?
So the question is, has anyone thought about suing the government for the biohazard, the crack, as it's called, in our neighborhood? And you're talking about people in our movement or something of that nature? Okay. Just a thought.
It's an important thought. It's an important thought. We haven't talked specifically about suing the government, but we think it's really important to understand that is exactly what we're looking at. It's the kind of chemical warfare that's being made against our community. I'm saying also that people should be suspicious of a government that treats us the way it does, and then offers us an opportunity right now to have legal marijuana, drugs, and things like that. It's a very suspicious thing that they're doing. They create all kinds of oppressive conditions in our community, and as opposed to encouraging us to fight to change them, they give us stuff to change our minds. There's nothing wrong with your brain. There's wrong with the conditions, and so people try to deal with the conditions by doping up. And we are materialists. And that means that the material world is what's affecting us and not our attitudes. In fact, our attitudes are a reflection of the world. And you can't change the world by just changing your mind, changing what's in your brain. You have to, somebody has said it before that philosophers have explained the world, but the point is to change the world. And you know that you're in the right direction when any explanation you get contributes to changing the world. It doesn't do that. So we got Black people now who engage in serious struggles about being able to sell dope. And they're saying that the government treat us badly because it's hard for us to sell dope in the community. And this is just an extraordinary place we're in. So we oppose to that. We oppose to the drugs, and we also oppose to the pain inflicted on Black people. And that's one aspect of the pain. And related to that is the government and the system makes it impossible or nearly impossible for the majority of African people to be employed in the legal capitalist system. So they create an illegal capitalist way system that you can try to make a living. You see these young brothers and sisters out there risking their lives and their future selling stuff. And you say, well, you can't do that. So they will ask you, how am I going to live? How am I going to make a living? And the truth is, in many instances, if the dope man wasn't bringing a job, there wouldn't be a job. And that's the contradiction we have to deal with. That's why the whole issue of changing the conditions on the ground, changing the conditions, bringing economic development and stuff so people can have the ability to even imagine a different kind of future that's been imposed on them. Uhuru. Yeah. This is Deputy Chair Onozene Ishatella. And she is the one who is responsible for what we see here in this building, and the Black Power Blueprint, the economic development work that you see is transforming North St. Louis. Yeah.
I had a question about the economic blackout. that just happened on February 28th. That's gonna be taking place, not just, last month, but throughout the rest of the year. Can you speak a little bit about that? That phenomenon?
Yeah, I don't know if everybody in this room is familiar with it. There was a one-day so-called economic blackout. Yeah. I mean, Al Sharpton and I forgot the name of the other cherubic person who was the news guy, Roland Martin, and folk like that promoting this. And we hear all the time about the need to, like to boycott this and boycott that. And there are circumstances under which boycotts can be fruitful. But usually that's to win a particular kind of objective by hurting a particular entity, to force them to go in a direction that that the community can agree on. This thing they're talking about now, boycott Target, boycott Walmart, boycott them. And what we're going to do with that is to give a display of the economics of the resources in our community. We're going to show them how much money they're missing by that. And one problem with that is that our problems are not going to be solved by boycotting somebody else. Ultimately, our problem is going to be solved by creating our own targets, by creating our own capacity. That's what they attacked us, not because we were boycotting somebody. They attacked us because we were getting rid of the need to boycott somebody by creating our own capacity for food, clothing, and shelter. The FBI came, the city government attacked us because we putting down the street there a bakery, a cafe. Not because we boycotting somebody else's bakery cafe, and we're trying to win the African community in transforming our conditions. That's how we deal with colonialism. But if you're not struggling against colonial domination of your community, then what you're always fighting to do is to get a part of what they do, is to get into something that they have as opposed to developing what we need. And so, yeah, much of what we're talking about are our resources, and people can make decisions for selective buying and stuff like that, and even boycotting. But I'm saying the fundamental strategic objective has to be to build our own, to create our own capacity, to do Marcus Garvey, to do what the original Nation of Islam did, do for self. Bill, almost even Booker T. Washington had the ability to say that cast down your buckets where you are, develop our own capacity. We can feed, clothe, and house our people because we feed, clothe, and house them. That's how they get what they get, because we're working for them. That's why you used to have businesses in your community, but your leaders, your Negro leaders integrated you out of your own businesses. You don't have them now because you wanted to integrate into theirs. And this is what we're left with right now, and trying to find our way out of them. You have to be afraid every time a decision is being made by somebody of whether you can eat or not. And people talk about how it used to be in St. Louis, how this used to be a thriving business community, and what happened to it. These are the kinds of questions we have to rebuild and get off our knees and bellies, crawling, trying to get them to do for us what we need to be able to do for ourselves. That's our position on that. So the boycott, yes, brother, go ahead. Yeah.
Stand up, my sciatica was bothering me in my back.
I know about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed from the blackout was the increase in us going to our Black businesses. I don't know if you all know about Aries or where's the other place? Even King Prince barbecue. It was standing room only in a lot of our Black institutions. So I saw it as a very beautiful thing that we decided to support our Black businesses on that one day. My question is, when I made posts out on social media, and I'd like to ask the white people in the room, I haven't been in a room with this many white people talking about these kind of issues. So this is new to me. But I want to ask, why what we did on February 28th, why did that make you so mad? Why did it made a lot of Black people mad too? But I was just wondering, what is it that made white people so mad that we came together and we decided to do a boycott? Why does that bother you so much? Can anybody answer that? I just wanted to know.
So I think we should ask people to answer that question. And I think we should also recognize the significance of people going to Black businesses. But I think related to that, we say buy Black is good, but we say it's better to buy Black power.
That's what it is.
And what we try to do is organize the Black businesses to become a part of a project where we come together. We have created a project called ANIBA, the African Independence Business Association, where African businesses come together, train each other, and become a part of a project to destroy colonialism, because we should control every dollar in the African community. We have to be able to control every dollar. And so the dollars that went to Prince as a consequence of that is magnificent. But let's create a situation where the dollars come to all of our businesses, and the coming to our businesses result in uplifting the entire community. And it's a conscious endeavor that by Black people that's involved in it. So I agree with you that that was an important outcome, but it's a temporary outcome, isn't it? And it was we have to have a strategic approach to capturing all the business. There shouldn't be a business operating in the African community that does not benefit Black people and speak to our terms in terms of treatment of Black people, in terms of the quality of the goods that they have, in terms of the resources coming to the Black community to pay for being in the community. That's the kind of stuff that we have to have a capacity. That's what we're going to do with the Black Power Convention, the Black Community Convention that we're talking about.
Yes, sir, I appreciate that. But when you first brought up boycott, a little bit here started chuckling. So I just want to know,
okay,
what is it that people are
okay
upset about us coming together to do something for us?
Right on.
About it.
Right on. Go ahead.
Why is it fun?
Okay, I guess Jesse was pointing at you.
Point at who?
Jesse.
Point at me?
Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Laughing about it.
I get an honest answer.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it was not in response to the boycott.
Come to the mic.
Yeah, I totally support the boycott. It was actually just in response to the chairman's use of the adjective cherubic. That's what I was laughing.
Cherubic. We have this thing with Roland Martin, and so I used the term cherubic when I said this cherubic, Black news guy.
It was the use of that adjective.
Yeah.
But I support the boycott.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be a mistake, because white people will be upset by Black people coming together. And by Black people saying we're going to boycott white businesses. They see that as an existential threat, because all the white people, see, African people, we live in social poverty. It's not just that you might have a few rich Negroes, but they live in social poverty. You can have a few poor white people, but white people live in society of social wealth. So there's resources in there, even if this person doesn't have anything, the cousin, uncle, the neighbor, or somebody else in the community got it. And not only that, but the mayor is going to make sure the ice gets done in your communities, et cetera. But in the wintertime. But the point is, we live in social poverty, and they live with social wealth. And so the objective is, how do we create a situation so we transform our conditions? And the fact is that many white people benefit, all white people, generally speaking, benefit from this relationship they have with Africans and other colonized people. They're upset when people in Palestine taking their own oil and their own resources. They're upset anytime the colonized people take back for ourselves what they're taking from us, because they mean they don't get it anymore. And, look, you live in a country right now, even though that may change under this current administration, where you can go to a supermarket and buy stuff that's never out of season. No matter what the season is, you can get strawberries, you can get peaches, you can get the other kind of stuff, because someplace in the world is grown, it is being grown, and the economy, the economic powers that run this country has a hand in there to take it from our community too. Penny Hess mentioned the thing about how the colonizers take material resources from our communities, minerals and stuff. They don't take just minerals, they take human labor, all the labor. What happened to the labor of black people that went into what they call slavery. Where does that labor go? It's concentrated in the wealth that you see today. So it's and also you have a situation where if they can underpay you, when they underpay you, they create a huge labor pool that's there. So that means that they hold down the value of labor throughout the whole thing, so that people, this labor pool that they underpay, you don't get any stuff, you don't make any resources, they underpay. That means that you're always desperate for a job. You're always they can always look in our communities and they can suck people into taking any kinds of job because of this vast labor pool. That's the kind of stuff we have to change. And we have to have a strategic approach to it. And a strategic approach to a boycott. Boycott might do what you just said in terms of princes and somebody else, but that doesn't change the relationship that we have to white power. And that has to be our objective in terms of our strategy. And it could include boycott, but the outcome has to be what I'm talking about now. To just boycott, to be able to join into the damn system that's oppressing us and the people around the world is not good enough. We have to be involved in an economic project to take our power back, to take our resources back, to have our own Targets, to have our own Walmarts, to have our own, well, we don't want to have Walmart Targets, but you know what I mean. So that people, we can feed, clothe, and house ourselves. And that's something that the system is opposed to. It is. Because if you have your own ability to feed, clothe, and house yourself, what does that mean in terms of income for Walmart? Walmart is a powerful economic entity. It's one of the biggest landowners in the world. It has tremendous amount of resources, biggest employers in the world. So what does it mean? Then if you take Walmart's business from it when you create your own capacity to feed and clothe and house yourself. And you got your elected officials work for Walmart. That's why when you go up to Walmart and you see up in the parking spots, they say, this is reserved for the police. Your government gives them that for free. It gives them all kinds of privileges for free. They work for Walmart. They work for Target. They work for the big developers who are pushing our people out of our homes and destroying our communities, etc. That's the reality that we're confronted with. And we got to change the whole damn thing, because politics ain't nothing but concentrated economics. And the problem we're confronted with is Black people don't have the economics, and so our politics always reflect the interests of somebody else. So, I mean, there may not be a satisfactory answer, but that's my response. Yeah.
Okay, I feel good to me.
Well, you know what? Some things feel good till you leave you with horrible diseases that takes ages to get rid of.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Pence.
Speak into the mic.
Okay, I forgot to move it. Is that better?
By the way, I didn't shop to any of those places on the 29th either. So I'm not, I'm just not knocking the boycott. I'm knocking it as a solution. I didn't break the strike. I'm not a strike breaker. You understand? So I found myself on my way. Who was riding with me? Was it Sayali? I found my way on my way to buy something from one of these, go shopping. And then I said, what day is the boycott? And he says, and so I turned around and didn't go. So I'm not a strike breaker, but I'm just saying that we have to have a much, more comprehensive approach to our economic interests. And that's what we're building here. And I want you to be here. I'm hoping you'll be here for the St. Louis Black Community Convention, where we can talk about us having an agenda, economic development for our community that serves us, and not just, spontaneously when somebody comes up with an idea, but serves us all the time, and our community can fight for it, and it can be ours, and then our children don't have to feel like they have to sell dope in order to live, and you don't have politicians like I've seen here in St. Louis that talks about sending the National Guard to crush our community like it's a foreign territory or something like that. Or you don't have politicians who say that we want 18-hour surveillance flights over the Black community because this white billionaire from Texas is putting it forward, and I want to find out how he makes his money. at our expense. We don't want to do that kind of stuff. So there's a way that you can get money and sacrifice the interests of the community and of the whole people. I want the Black businesses to be a part of a bigger project than just making some profit for that day or for however long for themselves. They have to be a part of a project to uplift the entire community. That's all I'm saying.
Solidarity Committee, along with Chairman Penny and Chair Jesse and several other people in the room, which is a front that the chairman founded of the African Revolution. So I just think, think about the whole question of colonialism. That was like the first thing that the chairman brought out to the white community. It's not racism. And that demands a different response from the white community, which is reparations and being part of the revolution to change the world. So I just think that it's been such an honor to be part of this movement, and we support not just like charity, which the boycott could be for white people, just charity, because I think the demands around DEI, but it has to be around Black power, economic development, African community. So I have the honor of working under Debbie Chair's leadership to be part of building the Black power blueprint in the institutions. So yeah, some white people might have been opposed to it, but in this room, it's been really important to be a part of it and to see a whole new economy that negates colonialism and starts to return the resources and the wealth, the labor, everything to the African community, so that we can be part of a future that's for humanity.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I am a avid Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful soap opera. My son is 51 and he was born the same year Young and the Restless started. So I can take it back and forth. I don't know why the NAACP and CBS thought it would be a good idea to get together and produce a Black soap opera. Because Beyond the Gate, it started last Monday. And I was talking to some of the people at my job, and I asked them, I said, are you interested in that? Have you seen it, or what do you think about it? They said, several men and several women said, it's just Black people acting like they white. We get enough of that in real life. So why did they think it was a good idea to put it, to make it a soap opera? And they did everything they could to let everybody know with commercials and interviews how great this movie and this soap opera is supposed to be. I haven't seen it yet. I'm not interested. I'll watch what I've been watching because I can follow the storyline. Because I will watch Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful every day. Uhuru, I just want to say that because they're trying to slip in some non-brain. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, they have a Black soap operas for the same reason they have Black people working as tellers in the bank. And working as the person in the checkout joints where you go to these white businesses, because Black people require somebody who look like us in these spaces. And so if they want to continue to get your money and to get your consciousness, they create their own narrative and they use Black people to say it. You got that at City Hall here. They create their own narrative and Black people say it for them. And so that's part of what the objective is. And so that's what we're looking at. Every now and then something slips through that can be profound and affects the consciousness of our community in a way that's positive, that helps us to move forward every now and then. But you don't see that often. They came close to that with even they cloned Tyrone. Came close to that. At least they identified an enemy of sorts, you know, and but yeah. So I just wanted to say that. And culture is a profoundly significant thing. It's more than just having somebody who can do what this sister does. It's about, if an oppressed people, culture has to do what Fofie's poem does. It has to mobilize people to struggle against our conditions. If it doesn't do that, it's reactionary culture. If you're oppressed, if you're an African, just to have a black person, a black face, is not something that is helpful to us. In fact, it's detrimental in most instances. And yeah, and yeah. So now, like I said, they've legalized black pushers. They're not releasing all those Africans who are locked up in these prisons as a consequence of selling marijuana, and there are thousands of them. But now you can be a pusher in your own community, and you can fight for it, and people do fight for it. And they are really offended because the government won't allow them equal access to the license to sell dope in our communities. You know, Uhuru. Uhuru.
All right, so that was some great engagement. So we're gonna move the agenda forward, comrades. We're just a little bit behind. We're not too bad behind. But Fofi, you have a final total. Looked like it was popping in so many directions with the resources today. Once you start talking about Africa, baby.
Comrades, our goal was $150. We raised $176. Uhuru.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you for all your contributions. Next, we're going to have our announcements. So, first on the announcement, we have the okay. Ciali, brief report. Brief on that announcement. All right, Uhuru. Bring this microphone up a little bit. All right, so just want to say NINA, which is the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association, just had its second meeting. And just want to say it was a lively meeting. We had a lot of participation from members and new people that came in. And people are really concerned about, you know, conditions here on the north side, and are really, you know, poised to really want to be able to do some work to change these conditions. And out of that, we got 6 new memberships that night. And we want to continue to grow. With that being said, you know, we want, you know, people to go online, and they can go online by going to tinyurl.com/NINA membership, and they can become a member that way. Also, they can come here to the Sunday rallies. And if we have clipboards and we're out in the community, we want to be able to sign people up right on the spot to become members as well. And it is free for 2025, so nobody has to pay any membership dues until 2026. So just want to let people know. And also, just on NINA real quick, myself and Karen Greer were interviewed today by Prince Carter on, it's called Prince Carter Speaks, and it's on Facebook and on YouTube. And we were able to talk about NINA, why NINA was brought forth, and how, you know, it's going to be playing a really critical role in changing the conditions here on the north side, not just when about homelessness and things like that, but also about the fact that Black businesses are suffering, are not able to grow in the best possible way, because unfortunately, we've heard so many stories about the ARPA funds not being distributed in the best possible way. And businesses are really, you know, screaming, you know, that they need these resources so they can continue to function. So NINA is going to be playing a really critical role in engaging the community, engaging our young people, giving our young people things to do. We want them to be able to help do outreach. And we're going to be coming up with more literature and things like that so that we can go out into the community
and be consistent in being out in the community, so that they can get information about what NINA's about and how they can participate, so that we can, come up with ways in which we can fundraise, to, build other programs that's going to help forward, the mission of, overturning these horrible conditions that we see day in and day out, and the community is tired of it, and we see that, City Hall and, the politicians have no vested interest in the community except to try to gentrify this community. We want to put an end to that. So I just wanted to say that about NINA. And also the next meeting of NINA will be on March 25th, and that's every last Tuesday of each month. So just want people to know about that. And then also, next slide, Uhuru Foods and Pies is moving forward. And again, everybody knows about the fact that Uhuru Bakery Cafe won that victory of getting our permit. Just to say real quick, been interviewing concrete contractors so that they can come out, so we can get the inside floor evened out and prepared so that we can have a beautiful counter and everything else going, as well as a new concrete pad on the outside for the extension so that we have more production space inside the building. So we've been doing that. We're also getting ready to, get all these different applications together for African Arts Festival, for Earth Day, and as probably most people have heard, the Annie Malone Parade has been uncanceled. They got a big influx of money, so we want to be able to be at these different things, and so that Uhuru Foods and Pies and Uhuru Bakery Cafe can be promoted widely. Also, we got pop-ups that are confirmed at Northwest Coffee Roasters. That's going to be happening on Pi Day, 3/14. They also actually call it 314 Day out here in St. Louis. And that's going to be from 9 to 2 p.m. And that is a Black coffee roaster here in the city. There's going to be a pop-up at the USM pre-convention that was just mentioned earlier. And that's going to be at the meet and greet that's happening at the Uhuru Solidarity Center. That's 2654 Gravois Avenue. And we want people to come there and get some delicious Uhuru pies. And then also, we're going to be having volunteers on March 22nd. And some of those volunteers we're going to be having at the Centenary Kitchen, where we're going to be producing pie shells so we can get ready to pour some delicious pies and get them out to the people. So I just wanted to put that out to everybody. And Uhuru, that's all I got. Uhuru.
Okay, let's move to the next slide, please, for the announcement. Okay. Next up on announcements, Black is Back Coalition is having its 9th annual electoral school. The theme for this year is the ballot and the bullet. Not one day, not one dime, no compromise, no surrender. That will be here at Aquaba Hall, April the 12th through the 13th. And for more information, of course, you can see it on the screen. You can go to register at blackisbackcoalition.org. Also, we started off today a little bit early with this, but don't forget to get your Burning Spirit newspaper. You can get the Burning Spirit newspaper. It's the oldest Black revolutionary publication in the United States and the world since 1968. You can go to burningspirit.com/subscribe. Also, every Thursday, there's a Revolutionary Democratic National Program study. It's online, it's virtual, it's at 7 p.m. You can register, it's on Facebook, you can register on Zoom, it's tinyurl.com/RNDP studies. And that is hosted, facilitated by the International President of InPDUM, Dr. Matsumelum Odom. And you too can build these Sunday rallies. Each and every week we have the Sunday rallies. We have various areas of work that is needed. We have the phone banking where you call community people and get them to come on out. You can participate with AV, that's the audio visual.
You can also participate with Caribou that is coordinated by Comrade Sophia, pardon me, who's in the back. And today, speaking of Caribou, we have, it's like a salad fest, isn't it? So there will be a variety of salads back there in the back. So after the Sunday rally is over, please do enjoy yourselves with that. And in closing, just to remind you, we have our community we have that one more, okay. So the next announcement is the National Convention, Uhuru Solidarity National Convention. That's the white solidarity with Black Power. We talked about that a little bit earlier today. Join the growing movement, solidarity with African, Indigenous, Palestinian, and oppressed people. We have that Saturday and Sunday, March 15th and the 16th, 2025. We will have that here at the Uhuru House with our keynote speaker, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. You can register online at tinyurl.com/USM convention. For more information, you can call 314-328-4816 or at information, you can go to info@uhurusolidarity.org for more information, register that way. Okay, and come on,
I'd like to make an announcement.
What's your announcement, sir?
I'm one of the newest members of NINA. I joined last Tuesday. I'm also on the board of Sabaye.
Okay, then.
Sabaye, we're going to be having our Juneteenth celebration. This is our 19th year. It's going to be at Maffitt and Bishop Scott.
Okay.
It's the second Saturday in June, and we really need your support because Better Family Life has pulled out. It's like $2,000 that we have to work with, and we tried to service our community. We've created a clinic over in Ghana. We're working on a media center over in Ghana.
Okay.
And just asking that you guys will support us. We have dollar raffle tickets. First prize is 200 votes. Second is $100 in groceries. And third prize is $50 gas card. And then we have our $20 sponsor a child ticket. We work with the youth on Saturdays. We teach drumming and other things, debate, contests, things like that. So I'm just asking if you would support us. We really need it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you kindly. Appreciate that. And Sabaye has been an institution in the city of St. Louis for many years now. And they do a lot of cultural activities, and I'm glad to see someone out from your organization today. Comrade Sophia is going to come up and start coordinating the camera move for next week. Is that right? All right, then come on up.
Yes, sir. See if he has any flyers or information for. If he has any flyers or information.
Okay, so for next week, we're looking at the pasta bar again. So for that, we'll still need the basics, which are the water, dessert, another drink. Do I have any takers for who wants to do what for those areas?
I'll do water. Well, I'll do, if he does water, I'll do
Okay,
some milk, another drink.
anyone for desserts? Okay, Miss Kitty. Okay. And then anyone to do a vegetarian pasta dish? Okay, Fofi. A meat pasta dish? Okay, I'll take that on. Anyone for breads or any other side items that'll go well with the pasta? A vegetable or bread? Okay, who is that said bread? Oh, okay.
Did you already get like a salad or something going on?
No. Okay. Yes,
Allie.
Allie. A surprise. Yeah, we got, well, it's not necessarily tea, whatever Kinge decides to bring the other drink. So we'll have water and then whatever the Kinge brings. So that concludes that one for next week.
Great.
Thank you. Oh,
Okay.
one other thing too is, as I always, every time I get up here, I want to bring up that we are still trying to develop the African National Women's Organization here in St. Louis. So if anybody here is in St. Louis and has a concern, a genuine concern about issues that women face, because they're generally more unique than what a lot of other people face, we're asking you to look into the membership. You can reach out to Anwo at ANWOUHURU.com. Is it .org online, and you can sign up for one of the memberships, or if you need to, you can reach out to me. You can either come to one of these meetings. If you see me anywhere out and about, you can always reach out to me. We can get you in an orientation to give you more information about the organization, some of the ideas that are floating around in our heads about what we look to do here in St. Louis. Or if you have ideas of things that you think and you know that needs to be done to address certain issues that are unique to St. Louis for women that they face here in St. Louis, and you want to get that done, this is a great organization. You can be part of the ground build up of that organization to get your initiatives out there. So reach out, let us know that you're interested in doing that, and we look forward to having you. Thank you.
I just want to really appreciate you for coming here from somebody and also joining Nina, which is very important that we build that organization. I think that we should support this organization in buying raffle tickets and also sponsoring a child. And also, I know that you're having the Juneteenth on what day again?
That's the second Saturday in June, and we have our vendor rentals are the lowest ever. I don't even think it's over $40.
Yeah. So, and that's for food, or that's for regular food?
Food is 40, and regular items is like 35.
Yeah, we should try to support this organization with a team, and yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Uhuru, I want to appreciate that, and yeah, support our brother, sister organizations here on the ground in St. Louis. All right, comrades, I want to thank everyone for coming out again to the another Sunday rally. We'll be back out here next week, 3 to 5 p.m. We're located at 4101 West Florissant, right on the corner of West Florissant and Alice. And until next time, Uhuru, touch one.